Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand as Ruud van Nistelrooy conducts his last press conference as Manchester United first team manager. He wants to go back to his assistant manager role. Will that be the case? He speaks on it again, his future at Manchester United, as he declares he would rather be part of a Manchester United project as an assistant to build them back up to where they should be than take a first team manager job elsewhere. He's focused on getting Manchester United back to the top. Huge injury updates on Shaw, Christian Eriksen, Kobbie Mainoo, Ahmad. Ahmad could be out for the Leicester game. I'm going to have a bit of an update on from Ruud van Nistelrooy on that. Speaking about what it'd mean to have the best Manchester United win rate, success rate as a Manchester United manager if he does manage to win against Leicester at the weekend, and loads of other stuff coming out as well surrounding the future under Ruben Amorim. But stay tuned to get all your comments in and let me know all your thoughts in the comments as always. Happy Friday everyone, very, very happy Friday. Thank you to Ahmad for this happy Friday, because if he didn't have the performance that he did yesterday, we might have been sat here being a little bit more moody going into the weekend. But Ahmad won us that game, first 3 points in the Europa League, first win in the Europa League in over a year, which is crazy to say as a Manchester United fan. Feeling very happy on this Friday afternoon, and I hope you guys are too. Hopefully a good weekend and we can go into the international break on a win, ready for Ruben Amorim to come in and start his project. It just feels like at the moment we're in limbo, doesn't it? Just feels like we're just waiting and waiting and waiting for Ruben Amorim. Don't get me wrong, happy that Ruud's come in and steadied the ship, but ultimately the performances still need to improve, don't they? We've got some good results, but the performances are still not where they need to be, and Ruben Amorim needs to come in sooner rather than later. But let's get into this press conference and let's start off with the team news updates from Ruud van Nistelrooy. He gets asked about team news and he said, yesterday we had a lot of benefits from Christian playing 30 minutes, with Ugarte and Mason making his first minutes again. So I'm glad they are back, and for a little bit longer future, Luke Shaw and Lenny are back on the pitch. So he speaks about, the fact that Ugarte was able to play again, the fact that Christian Eriksen came on for half an hour, the fact that Mason Mount played and didn't get injured, didn't get another knock. How, usually Mason Mount plays for half an hour and ends up getting a knock and is out for another month. So the fact that Mason Mount's come away from the few minutes that he had unscathed is a positive for Manchester United. Christian Eriksen coming back from injury as well. Luke Shaw is back on the pitch, as we saw in the morning show. Lenny Yoro is training as well. Both a little bit off it so far, but maybe after the international break they'll be able to be with the squad and be used in a match day and actually, play competitive games for Manchester United, which feels like it's been an age. Also an update on Ahmad and Mainoo. I thought Ahmad, might have just had a little bit of a knock on his ankle yesterday. He did end up coming off, didn't he? And, he went down a couple times in the game. But Ruud van Nistelrooy gets asked about Ahmad and he said, Ahmad was assessed, still working on getting him ready for Sunday, so hopefully it will work. And Kobbie Mainoo is also progressing with his injury. He isn't yet with the team though, he needs more time. So Kobbie Mainoo isn't going to be back with the Manchester United side yet, and he's not in group training yet. So I doubt Kobbie Mainoo will be available for Amorim's first game unless he makes a very, very quick recovery. I want Mainoo to be back as soon as possible, to be honest, because I think he's going to be such an important part of that Ruben Amorim side. But we'd have to wait. He did suffer quite a hard injury when he did get injured, but at least he's training individually, and that's sort of a positive. Well, it is a positive right now. The fact he's doing well in his recovery. Ruud van Nistelrooy said he's progressing. Important that he's progressing. But the main thing I was looking at here was Ahmad, because obviously he was such an important player for us in our win yesterday. You want him to now go and play against Leicester and thrive again. You want him to keep kicking on. You want this to be his, eureka moment where he gets back into the team. We say it over and over again. It's not always about the goals you score. It's also about how you play over 90 minutes. And I thought Ahmad played well and he got 2 fantastic goals. You want him to push on again against Leicester. And I'm sure if he's fit and available, he has to be in the starting 11. So the fact that Ruud says he was assessed and he's working to get him ready for Sunday, hopefully it'll work. It's not a definite, and that worries me a little bit. But in the words of Ruud, hopefully he is available and he can start that game. The last thing you want is him getting hit with injury now. And I know it's not anything serious, but you want to keep that momentum up and you want to see him progress and you want to see him get that start on Sunday and making an impact in the Premier League, especially when he was so mistreated by Erik ten Hag. And I will say that, like, Ahmad was mistreated by Erik ten Hag. The fact that Forsen was getting minutes over Ahmad is crazy. You know, the fact that Erik ten Hag came out and said that, you know, Anthony was training really well, that's why he came on. But then Ruud van Nistelrooy said yesterday that Ahmad's been asking for extra training sessions every single day after training. He's asking, can I work on my finishing? Can I work on this? And he's been training really well. I just don't understand the treatment of Ahmad by Erik ten Hag. I mean, Mazraoui played in the 10 away at Fenerbahce. When Ahmad can easily play that role, he's strong. He's good on the ball. He's positionally good. Like, Erik ten Hag just did not seem to fancy him one bit. And when he was in the team, it's like Ahmad had to fight tooth and nail to be in the side. Got Player of the Month for August and then got phased out again. Dropped for 2 really important games in Liverpool and Spurs. And, you know, United played badly in them games and he still didn't get his way back into the 11. So I do not know how it's got to this point with Ahmad. But the last thing you want is for him to suddenly, you know, have an injury now. You want him to be in this team because you want Amorim to see him. And if Amorim, I said it on my match reaction yesterday, if Amorim is the manager we think he is, you know, he's going to see Ahmad and he's going to see he's our most gifted forward player. In my opinion, at this moment in time, he's our best forward player. And he will be in that starting 11. So you want to see him kick on, you want to see him progress and gain confidence. And he deserves it because not only was his goals fantastic, I just love his fight, I love his strength. He's deceivingly strong. He defends well. I think he's underrated in a lot of departments and strength is definitely one of them. So excited to see him kick on and hopefully he can be available for that Leicester game. LMP22KZ says, no matter if Shaw is the best left back in the world over the next few months, until the end of the season, Ineos need to cash in and show ruthlessness. LMP, I agree with you. As much as obviously it's good to have Shaw back because he is somebody who can play in a position that we've been lacking in terms of the left back or potentially even left wing back under Ruben Amorim, and we know he's a quality player. It doesn't mean he should stay at Manchester United. I've been a massive Shaw fan. I think he's absolutely quality when he can stay fit. But no matter how good he is, we need to cut ties in the summer. I completely agree. This injury record is not sustainable. The fact he hasn't played since February, let's see how long he can stay fit for now. I mean, Goldbridge might be giving 500 quid to charity if he manages to stay fit till Christmas. What are we? Say he comes back at end of November. He has to last about a month, maybe just under a month. Can he do that? That's the question for Luke Shaw. But I agree with you that he has to go in the summer no matter what happens. Farhan Khan says, Ahmad is our most creative player. OK, Bruno is up there recently. He just loses the ball with some random Hail Mary passes. Very underrated. Ahmad needs to be a regular starter. Absolutely. And the question to you guys, and get in the comments down below, who would you be starting on the left against Leicester? Maybe let's run a poll on that. Who would you be starting on the left, Garnacho or Rashford? Because Ahmad has to start on the right. Ahmad has to. So either Garnacho or Rashford's dropping to the bench. Which one goes to the bench and which one do you start? Moving on, Ruud van Nistelrooy gets asked about his last game as the interim manager. He says, and whether it'll be emotional for him. He says, I don't know if it'll be emotional. I'm pragmatic as well. Although proud to fulfill this role, we'll see how I feel on Sunday. Other than that, there's not much news. Ruben and I are focusing on our teams and on our games. So Ruud van Nistelrooy reiterated the fact that Ruben Amorim is still the Sporting manager and he's focusing on Braga and he's focusing on Leicester, and that is the way it is. There's no conversation as of now. They're both focused on their games. He got asked about whether he'd want to be Manchester United manager in the future. Now he's had a taste of that, of being Manchester United first team manager and being the boss. And I thought this answer was really interesting because it kind of feeds into that narrative where a lot of people were saying, you know, Ruud took the job as assistant manager because, you know, eventually he was going to take over and be first team manager. And his reply is, I thought this through well when I came here as an assistant manager. I knew coming to Manchester United was a special occasion and I felt I wanted to be part of this journey in the assistant role. I have clear ambitions to manage. I signed a 2-year deal as an assistant and I'm still in that same frame of mind. So what I found really interesting about that reply is so many people thought he was coming to take over as first team manager, and that's not been the case because Ineos have gone out and got Ruud Amorim. And Ruud van Nistelrooy keeps insisting he intends to fulfil his assistant manager role for the next 2 years. He's signed a deal for 2 years and he wants to do that at Manchester United. He would rather be the assistant manager at Manchester United than a first team manager elsewhere because he wants to help be part of the project in any capacity to build Manchester United back to the top. But he keeps talking about this assistant contract that he intends to fulfill. Ruud Amorim, the new head coach of Manchester United, is bringing an assistant manager with him. He's bringing his coaches. He's already got an assistant manager. So is Ruud just going to be a secondary assistant manager? Are Ineos going to tweak his role? I know we've had these conversations multiple times on the channel, and I know Mark spoke about it this morning. But just to see that Ruud van Nistelrooy quote come out again, in Ruud Amorim's setup, there's no room for him to be assistant manager. They'd have to change his role in some sort of capacity. Would Ruud be open to that? And the connection he's already built with the players, this could either be a help or a hindrance. It could be a help in the fact it could bridge that connection between Ruud Amorim and the players, and I'm trying to think of what else it could do, to be honest with you. And it could give Ruud Amorim some insight into the squad and into the squad's personalities and what they were like under the hard times under Erik ten Hag, because Ruud knows them. Or it could be a hindrance. And I would lean to it being more of a hindrance, because any slight divide in that dressing room, and it'll be hard for Ruud Amorim. You need everybody to be pulling in the same direction. You need everybody to be on the same page that Ruud Amorim is the boss. Does Ruud even buy into Ruud Amorim's style football? You know, he's not even had a conversation with him yet. These conversations need to be happening. So if there's any sort of slight disagreement in the dressing room, you know, and Ruud has got that connection with the players, and Ruud Amorim's the new guy in town, you know, the new boss, it could cause a slight divide, and you don't need that. You need everybody on the same page, pulling in the same direction. And I'm not saying that Ruud wouldn't be pulling in the same direction, but I'm saying, you know, you've got that guy there that the players know that they can go to when they need, you know, they need everybody to be on the same team, and that's Ruud Amorim's team. So let's see how things progress. Hopefully the right decision will be made. But Ruud keeps insisting that he wants to fulfill his 2-year assistant manager role, but I don't know how that's going to work when Ruud Amorim is bringing in his own assistant manager. Advice to Amorim. Ruud van Nistelrooy gets asked if he has any advice for Ruud Amorim now that he's been in the role as the first team manager at Manchester United. And he said, it's a good question actually. I've been in for 3 months and this is a short spell, and from here on it will be good to wrap it all up and then have that conversation. It's a good question. I will start to think about it. Then he had a bit of banter with the reporter. I think the reporter was like, well, let me know when you know. So Ruud is very, very clear. He wants to focus on the Leicester game. He wants to wrap that up, and then he can think about having conversations with Ruud Amorim. Ray S says, if I was Ruud Amorim, I wouldn't keep any of the current staff. They're used to Erik ten Hag ways, and Amorim is going to want to do things his way with no issues. Interesting point from you. I mean, it would be tough, wouldn't it, coming in as the new boss, and you know, there's already a guy there, like an assistant manager that all the staff really like. It's hard to kind of, you know, it'd be hard to kind of proper make an impression and have things done your way if there's somebody from the old regime that the staff can go to and well, we've done it this way for so long. Well, I'm the boss now. I'm putting my stuff in place, but he's still there. So as much as I would love Ruud to be successful at Manchester United in any capacity, you've got to think about what fits best for the new Manchester United manager, Ruben Amorim, and you're going to want to think he's going to want a completely fresh start with all of his staff that have been so important to him throughout his career. He then gets asked what he's learned in his role. And Ruud says, I think I'm so focused on getting the best out of the players, working together with the staff members and getting Manchester United back on track that I've not reflected on that. To be fair, I have learnt a lot from being there with the other coaches and the players. So the knowledge of training sessions, managing individuals and teams, it's something that has helped me as a coach. So I also think what Ruud van Nistelrooy is trying to say here is, actually, obviously because he was first team manager at PSV, wasn't he? Actually being in that assistant role, it's helped him in terms of individual training sessions, getting to know the players, figuring out players' personalities, managing individuals. Like that has helped him progress as a first team manager, having them duties as an assistant manager. He was doing a lot of the coaching sessions, he was doing a lot of individual sessions under Erik ten Hag, and that most first team managers obviously do oversee them sessions, but a lot of the time it is the assistants and it is the coaches setting them all up. So it gave him a greater insight into players, into sessions, into the personalities of players, which will ultimately make him a better manager. One thing I would say though is I don't think Manchester United have necessarily improved that much since Ruud has been the first team manager. And yeah, the results have been better, but overall performances, can anybody sit here and say that performance against PAOK was a good enough performance? Can anybody say it was a lot better than what we saw under Erik ten Hag? We haven't conceded yesterday, okay, but I think Erik ten Hag did tighten up the defence pretty well within his last few games as his last spells as Manchester United manager. I don't think the defence was a big problem. In Europe, it was, to be fair. We did concede a lot in Europe. But against PAOK yesterday, we didn't look like we got out of third gear. It was Ahmad that won us that game. I think defensively, we've been more compact. That's one thing I can definitely give Ruud. That Leicester game, people say, we scored goals in that Leicester game. It was Leicester's second string side. And how often does Casemiro score an absolute banger from outside the box? And Bruno Fernandes, at the end of the day, his free kick was a deflected free kick. It was quite lucky. Luck just kind of turned against us. Our luck turned our way that game. Obviously, Bruno's second goal was fantastic. And who else scored for Manchester United? I think Garnacho scored a really good goal as well. But you've got to look at the team that we're playing. It was Leicester's second string at home at Old Trafford. So I actually don't think our performances have really improved. I don't think Chelsea played very well. I think Manchester United still missed a lot of chances in that game. So I know you can't do much within a week, but I don't think Ruud has massively changed things, to be honest. I think these are similar performances we would have got under Erik ten Hag. Ruud van Nistelrooy on his future. He said, basically, his future, is it at United, or is this give you the appetite to want to go back into first team managing and being a first team manager of a football club? What is your appetite for the future? Is it to stay at Manchester United as an assistant, or is it to go back into first team managing? And he said, I think the appetite to build further within this club is stronger than the other bits, basically to be his own man and be the first team manager for a different team. He said, for this moment, as I said, I made a deliberate decision to step in this role for 2 seasons and take it from here. These 4 games haven't changed that. So again, making it very clear as can be, these 4 games as first team manager hasn't made me want to go and be first team manager anywhere else. I want to go back to my assistant role. I want to help Manchester United in any capacity possible. And you cannot say that Ruud van Nistelrooy does not love Manchester United and does not want to do everything in his power to make Manchester United great again. I truly believe that. He's a legend of this club as a player, and I think he's stabilised the ship as a manager. I really do think he has. I think he's made decent decisions as manager. I mean, in the Chelsea game, I thought the subs could have been a bit different, but ultimately, decent draw against Chelsea. I feel like we could have kicked on and got the win, and if we could make better decisions in the final third, we would have kicked on and got the win. Leicester game, got through an important game in the Cup to progress us in that. We desperately needed 3 points in the Europa League. Okay, was it Ahmad that basically got us them points over the line? Yes, but he did choose to start him in that game, which is a positive, and give him that confidence. So, I mean, I'm not going to give him much credit for that. Anyone with a brain, if you'd seen Ahmad the way that he plays, would be starting him. He's absolutely fantastic. But Ruud van Nistelrooy, if he does win against Leicester, he has got, I think, the best success rate as Manchester United manager. Okay, it is only a short spell. So I give massive credit to Ruud, because this ship did need steadying, and not only were the performances terrible, but the results were terrible as well. The performances still haven't been great, but the results have picked up, and that's important. So I love Ruud as a player, but if I'm looking with my Ineos head on and what is best for this football club, I highly doubt that Amorim will want somebody from the old setup there, especially such a prominent figure like Ruud van Nistelrooy. Such a big character, somebody that is going to grab the headlines, someone that is a big presence, someone who the camera is going to be on him on the sidelines. If things don't go Ruben Amorim's way straight away, people will be talking. Should have Ruud stayed? Should Ruud have stayed? And as the first team manager, even though that isn't the case, and most people would know that shouldn't be the case, there will be that talks, and it's very easy for that division to start, not from Ruud, just through human nature. So I think the best thing for Ruben Amorim would probably for Ruud to go. And we had this with Carrick, didn't we, when Solskjaer was there? Everyone thought Carrick was going to stay, and then he did end up going. So time will tell, but I think if Ruud does go, it'll be because Amorim doesn't want him to stay, because Ruud's made it very clear that his intention is to stay. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops. We've got some more comments coming in. We have Connor David saying, I would put Rashford on the left to start because Garnacho has shown to be more dangerous off the bench. I think that's a really, really good point. John Stewart says, these players are not on the same page. So many misplaced passes. I agree, John, but one thing I will say, actually, in defence of Garnacho and in defence of the misplaced passes, is in yesterday's game, I don't think I've seen Garnacho take more than 2 shots. 1 or 2 shots. Garnacho was taking multiple shots, several shots in each half. It was clear that he'd taken on board a lot of the criticism from the Chelsea game and was trying to make better decisions. Were some of them passes overhit? Did some of them not work? Yes. It wasn't probably natural to him. He's used to cutting in and shooting. That's his game. He's used to taking players on. That's been his game for so long. But it was very, very clear after that Chelsea game, he's went away and he's assessed and he's tried to improve. And I will always give a player credit for that. Okay, yeah, some of the passes on the overlapping run to Dalot didn't work, but he did put a fantastic cross across the box to Ahmad that the defender just managed to get in front of, but it was on a plate for him, basically. And he was trying to make the right decisions more often. And when a player adapts and changes and tries to take on the criticism and become a better player, I will always give credit for that. So I'm very happy with the fact that Garnacho did try to make better decisions yesterday, and hopefully that will come in time. Let's see what the poll is saying actually on who starts on the left, Garnacho or Rashford. In this game, I think it's much of a muchness, to be honest, because I don't think Rashford did much when he came on. He came on the left yesterday. I don't think either Garnacho or Rashford have really been lighting it up over the last few games, have they, for Manchester United? So I think it's much of a muchness. You'd probably start the more senior player in Rashford and then bring Garnacho on off the bench, build him some confidence because we know how lethal he can be off the bench. Just make them battle it out. Make them battle it out for that spot, because Ahmad has to start on the right because he's our best right winger and I think he's our best forward. Garnacho and Rashford, one game Rashford will have a better game, one game Garnacho will have a better game. Make them fight out. If Rashford starts, has a good performance, Garnacho comes off the bench and also has a good performance, and you've got a real competition on your hands. If Rashford doesn't have a good game, he comes off, Garnacho comes on and is fantastic. Garnacho takes that spot for the next game. I think that's the way it should be. I'm talking about taking that spot, but the next game after the Leicester game, we think is going to be a completely different formation. How do them players fit in that formation? We're yet to see. How Ruben Amorim's going to work it, we're yet to see. Will he go straight to the 3-4-3? Will he do that? Where do Rashford and Garnacho fit? Are they still competing for the same position in that setup? I mean, get your comments in what you think. I was speaking to a Portuguese journalist who knows Ruben Amorim very well. When I say knows him very well, it's not as if he's at his house every week for a cup of tea. I'm talking about how knows his football very well, has been reporting on him and following his football. And I asked him where he thinks that Rashford will play in Ruben Amorim's setup, and he said he thinks Rashford will play on the right-sided 10 and Bruno will play as a left-sided 10, you know, in them 2 10s behind the striker. Obviously, he knows more than me because he's been following Ruben Amorim for a long time. I've been researching him and I feel like I know Ruben Amorim's football, the amount I've been researching it, but I would say he obviously knows more than me, but I don't see Rashford in that role, and I might be wrong. Honestly, the way I'm looking at them 2 10 spots for Manchester United, if Ruben Amorim does employ the same system as he's been using at Sporting, is I think left-sided forward, the left-sided 10 in behind the striker, I think is either Bruno Fernandes's spot or Mason Mount's spot. I think a lot of people aren't talking about how that position is tailor-made to Mason Mount. If he can stay fit, that would be his best position. And it's probably his best chance of being successful in a Manchester United shirt. I think that position suits Mason Mount down to the ground, and we've seen him be successful in a similar setup before. So I think Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes will be competing for that left inside forward spot. Potentially Marcus Rashford if Ruben Amorim changes his system a little bit or maybe tweaks it a little bit. One thing that you have to have as their number 10s in Ruben Amorim's system is immense work rate. Can Marcus Rashford bring that? I mean, he has been working hard this season, to be fair to him, he has, and I will give him that credit, but it's different for him than what he's done before. It's not a typical winger role. And we know, to be fair, when Marcus Rashford's had his best spells, he does come inside a little bit, so maybe it will work for him, but I see like 3 players competing for that spot. Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount and Marcus Rashford. And then that right-sided forward spot, I see as Ahmad's. I've seen a lot of people say Ahmad might be a good wing-back because he is deceptively strong. He does get back really well. His heading ability is good. His aerial ability is good. And it's underrated. So maybe he could be a wing-back, a little bit like Quenda, a lot of people are saying. But I personally see Ahmad as a right-sided forward. The way he cuts in anyway, the way he cuts in on his left foot, how good he is under pressure, his work rate, his technical ability, how good he is at beating the press. I see him as that right-sided 10, moving in between players, you know, gliding between players, playing them creative passes forward, cutting in and shooting when needs be. Like, that is where I see Ahmad. So there's going to be a lot of players competing for one position in this Ruben Amorim setup, and I'm so intrigued to see how he works it. Whether Ahmad will be a wing-back or whether he will be a 10 and inside forward. I see him as the right-sided forward, but Amorim might see him as a wing-back. You know, where does Garnacho fit? Because I don't see Garnacho as a wing-back, but I also don't see him as an inside forward. I see his best position is in a 4-3-3. That's how I see Garnacho. So how he's going to adapt. And he's going to have to adapt because he is super talented. He's only 20 years old, and Amorim might be able to tweak him a little bit, but it's going to be very, very interesting, honestly. MB97 says, I unironically can't think of any other big club that is so relentlessly obsessed with handing itself over to the whims of mediocre players. The players have to improve. The players have to improve. When I was watching the game against PAOK last night, like, do not get it twisted. Just because we got a 2-0 win, that performance was nowhere near good enough. And no player looked the standard of a United player other than Ahmad. So Amorim has got a big mountain to climb. Of course he has. The poll, I can't actually see the results of the poll. If someone could tell me, that would be great. 59% Garnacho, 41% Rashford. Very, very close. And I think that kind of sums up the fan base at this moment in time. And you've got Michael Pitchford saying Ahmad in the Trincao role. Trincao is fantastic for Sporting. And I think the good thing is about Ahmad, because obviously everyone's on the Ahmad hype train at the moment, and they've been on it for a long time. He's a fantastic player. I think he's probably the only player right now in Manchester United's front line that looks like he's got the ability to be a Manchester United player at this moment in time. I know Garnacho has the potential. I know we've seen it in Rashford before. But you know, you've got to do it on a consistent basis for Manchester United. We've got to see it week in, week out, and you can just tell with Amad how technically gifted he is every time he plays. Like I said, how he's not getting the game time, how he's not been getting the game time, I have no idea. He fits in the same bracket to me as Kobbie Mainoo, technically gifted, a very, very technically gifted player. The good thing that I was going to say about Amad is I think he can play multiple positions in this Ruud Amorim setup, and I think he is going to thrive under this Ruud Amorim setup. I got the pleasure of speaking to Amad last night after the game, and if you've not watched the interview, go and watch it on the United Stand. It's fantastic. He speaks about his future at United and, you know, lack of game time and future under Ruud Amorim. He's someone who I think can play multiple positions in that setup, and I did tweet out yesterday that I think he will thrive under Ruud Amorim because hopefully we're getting a coach in that values technical ability in his players. We've seen that in Sporting Lisbon, values someone who's going to work incredibly hard, going to fight for the badge, and that's what Amad will do. But look, I don't want to completely overhype him. I know he was playing against Pauk, but I just want to give credit where credit is due because I think he's been a bit unfairly treated, to be honest with you. Lee Nightgale says performances and style of play are the same. That's why Amorim's coming in. Exactly. Amorim has to come in now, and he is coming in now, and Ineos made the complete right decision bringing in their guy now and not wait until the end of the season, because I don't think Ruud was ultimately going to change a lot, and I can't expect him to change a lot. He was Erik ten Hag's assistant. He was brought in under Erik ten Hag, buying into his way of playing. I think if Ruud would have stayed as interim till the end of the season, it just would have been getting through to the end of the season, writing off a season, and he would have been similar types of performances, I think. But he steadied the ship. Fair play to Ruud. I think everyone's enjoyed seeing him on the touchline. Legend of the club. And thank you for steadying the ship and getting some results in for Manchester United. Now it's time for Ruud Amorim to come in and the new era to begin, and hopefully it's a successful one. Please hit a like on the video if you've not already. Happy Friday, everyone. Press conference reaction. Ruud van Nistelrooy's last one. It'll be interesting to see how Ruud Amorim is in his press conferences. We've already seen him be quite charismatic, very honest. Let's see what he'll be like as Manchester United manager. Sometimes, you know, the Manchester United job can weigh a man down, can't it? Marcus S says, most of these players need to go. Rashford, Anthony and Shaw to go now. Bruno and Casemiro end of the season. I don't agree with all of them players, but I do think a lot of players have been overrated and they need to do a lot under Amorim to stay at the football club. M. Parker says, hi Beth, thank you very much for your super chat. Thank you everyone for getting involved in the comments, getting all your votes in the poll. I appreciate you. I appreciate all the positive feedback as well over the last few days in terms of the match day content that everyone put out. I watched the fans forum last night. It was fantastic. Ricky was on form, talking about Lindelof and Evans being the best two centre-backs. Hey, they got a clean sheet. They're not my go-to centre-back pairing, but they got a clean sheet. They did both play well, by the way. I've said this though before. I've said this before. I've said it in recent weeks. It's you know when things click into place with you and you come to realisation on certain topics. Our defence is decent. It genuinely is. Johnny Evans steps in when needs be. Class, genuinely class. Lindelof has some mistakes in him and sometimes can be too weak, but as a centre-back, as a squad player, he's absolutely fine for Manchester United as a squad centre-back. And he did well yesterday. He's good on the ball. That is his strength. You know, Martinez, excellent ball-playing centre-back that I think is going to thrive under Amorim. Maybe didn't have the best start to the season, but he's really come good in recent weeks. De Ligt, I think, has gone under the radar, has been a very good signing and consistently puts in 7 out of 10s. So Mazraoui's been good. Dalot has been a bit weak, but he's been overplayed and we know what he can be. Onana has been very, very consistent this season. I think his shot stopping has improved massively. So, yeah, the defence has been good. It's our forward line that needs to start firing, to be honest with you. But look, everyone, thank you very much for watching. This has been the last Ruud van Nistelrooy press conference reaction, and I'm very, very happy to bring it to you guys. Have a lovely weekend. See you on Sunday for Manchester United's last Premier League game against Leicester before Ruud Amorim comes in, before the international break. And I will see you on the next one.